Your ability to think is the only thing that protects us. We're in the age of AI. It is our human ability to think that is not accurate. That's not the strategy. That's not actually the output that I was looking for. AI is not giving you original ideas. You think it is because it's original to you. And if you think that you're original and you're only getting your ideas from AI, you are exactly the kind of person that we were talking about before that's just copying the competitors.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Logbook podcast. I'm your host, Zachary and Brooke. You can find me on social at It's Zach B. In each episode, I bring on experts from various industries for you to learn about their strategies and insights driving extraordinary business growth. Today, we're joined by Brooke MacLean, CEO of Marketwake, an Atlanta-based growth marketing agency built on the idea that data and creative storytelling have to work together, not separately, to actually make a brand memorable. And Brooke actually grown Marketwake to nearly 80 people, landing on the Inc. 5000 like 6 times. Also, the Inc. Best Places to Work for with 5 years running. A combination that, in my experience, most companies are told that you kind of need to pick between one or the two. And then she also got an early crash course in high pressure leadership, running the email automation company Kiwi as CEO at 26. And today, she splits her time between Marketwake and backing early stage founders through Marketwake Ventures. But she's also not really new to the podcasting side of things. I mean, she was a TEDx speaker, hosted the Venture Atlanta, and she's also someone who's traveled to 30 countries, most of it solo. Brooke, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome aboard.
I'm going to need you to do every intro for me for the rest of my days.
That's a good intro.
I'm very thrilled to be here. Yeah, thank you.
No. I really appreciate you coming on the show. And we've obviously had a lot of different conversation with every industry that you could think of, but I think this is going to be like an interesting one. I mean, at 26, you were CEO, you have like multiple companies, you travel all across the world. So I'm going to assume you have a couple of stories under your belt that we can obviously touch on here.
I have some stories. Some are great for morning coffee and others are better for an afternoon cocktail.
Fair enough. So one of the things I always like to do with anyone that comes on the podcast, and I'm curious to hear your answer because everyone has a different answer around that, is if you had to like restart your company from scratch today, what's kind of maybe the one thing that you feel you would do differently that a lot of people get like totally wrong?
It's interesting because I think that all of the things that you do when you're first creating a company are actually very important. I mean, think about a child. When a child is first learning anything, it's messy. It is not the proper way of doing things, but it's important for them to explore. It's important for them to test their bounds, to see what works, to see what doesn't. So it's hard for me to go back and say, these are the things that I wish I would have done differently, because in every single failure was a lesson for how we do things now. And I actually think that there's something really important in that concept of allowing yourself to be childlike in starting a business. You don't have to have it perfect. In fact, the exploration is a part of the process, and teaching your team to explore and hit those bounds is a part of the process. If there were things that had more negative impact that I wish that I would have gotten right faster, different, I would say that the contractual side of the business, which is not a very sexy thing to talk about, but that actually had negative impact because we didn't invest a lot in the legal foundation of the business. So a lot of companies and a lot of clients had different SEO or SOWs, different MSAs, different terms. All of those things started to become a real nightmare as we got bigger and we had to abide by said terms. Same thing with an operating agreement and making sure that our contracts with our team were okay. Those are the things that are not the pieces that you want to learn through exploration. You want to get those right. And then I also think I was kind of the system. Right? It was, people would come to me, ask me what I thought. I would tell them the exact answer to give because we were small. And I wish I would have spent more time teaching them to figure it out themselves. While we were exploring and there was a lot of opportunity to grow and fail, I did end up giving my direct answer. And I think that adds a level of enablement that maybe you want to avoid if you're trying to grow true leaders in your company.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that last point that you mentioned, like I'm seeing that myself in every company. I'm kind of like realizing like, hey, if I want people to have like judgment, like initiative, I can't always give them like the answer like they need to be able to go like find it on their own. But I'm with you on your first answer though, because I feel like it's so true. And I'm a big believer that like any failure that you go through is a lesson. It's not actually failure. Like you only learn by doing, and you're never going to get everything perfect on like the first go if you haven't done it before. That's really just how you learn in the first place. But
That's it. And I'm going to look back 10 years from now and be like, oh my gosh, what was I doing then? It never changes. It's never like, oh, well,
yeah,
we made it past the toddler phase. Like,
yeah.
we're still figuring that out. Yeah.
Fair enough. So I'd love to dive a bit into like the marketing side of things, because that obviously I know that's like your bread and butter of the company and for like yourself too. And you've obviously been in the space for quite a while, to put it very simply. And when we think about like innovation, like all these things going on, like maybe like the economy and everything like that, there's a pretty like common instinct that when things and like time is starting to get like uncertain, like marketing is like the first like line item that people are like, okay, like, we need to cut that. Like we need to cut our spending on ads, and just focus on the current customers. Is that ever like actually like a smart move, or is that actually more backwards in your opinion?
I think it's backwards, and everyone who's listening is going to be like, oh, that's very self-serving. Obviously, you're in the industry. But I do have a reason why. Sure. The reason why I think that it is backwards is because when everyone starts to cut their marketing spend, what you're doing, you're missing out on the biggest opportunity for your dollars to go so much farther. If everyone is doing that, your competitors, they're starting to lessen their dollars, they're going dark. You have the opportunity to take your ad spend, take your dollars, and make it have so much more meaning. There's also a psychological impact in this. So when there is a downturn in any industry, people want to do business with a surefire business. They want to know that they're not going to go under. They want to know that they're investing in their clients. They want to know that they're investing in their roadmap. So when you cut your marketing, it's not just the marketing that's impacted, it's the perception of the health of your business. And that's what we want to say is people actually apply a lot of meaning, whether you intend it or not, to say, what is the health of this business? And if they no longer can invest in marketing, maybe they're not doing well. Maybe they're unhealthy. Maybe I should go somewhere else where they are investing in marketing, because then I know that they're going to last through whatever downturn or whatever change this is. So people don't realize it's the unintended impacts of cutting marketing and cutting your message. Yes, it is an opportunity for you to actually do way more than you ever could with the dollars that you have, even a lesser budget. I understand sometimes you have to cut budgets. Absolutely. I mean, we're in the same boat. Like sometimes we have to cut budgets, but turning everything off is never the right play because of the unintended impacts of psychologically speaking, people creating a reputation that you might not want.
Yeah. That's interesting. I never thought about it that way, because if you're, by not marketing yourself, you're marketing out to people that your company is maybe not doing too well. And that's affecting like the brand perception in a way.
You're always sending a message. Always, as a company, are you aware of what it is? And not sending a message is a message.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to think about it. But the other thing that you mentioned, like in like your first answer, which I thought was like interesting, is when you're dealing with obviously just like the market, whether like uncertain time, economy, or anything like that, the people who are doing well are obviously going to keep spending on marketing. But the people that are, maybe they're a bit scared, they're going to like stop the spend on like marketing. So the people that keep spending are going to get better results because there's less people competing for keywords, ad clicks, and everything like that. So your thesis, like, keep spending. Obviously, if you have to like cut down a little bit the budget, adjust as needed, do so. But yeah, interesting. Because I know a lot of people just cut it. Go ahead.
They do cut it. And I think that it is a good time at any point in a company. It is a valiant effort to look at what is working and what's driving the most ROI. Where is there the highest margin opportunities? Being analytical in those senses to figure out what levers are working and what aren't. An amazing exercise, no matter what the state of the economy is or the state of your business.
Yeah.
Like, you should be doing those things, but to turn it all off, that's a risk.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So we talked about marketing, but one thing that I thought was like really interesting about your company, and we talked about this a little bit earlier when I was giving you that amazing bio that you mentioned in terms of like culture, that you guys have created like a great company. And I think I was looking at your website. I could be wrong, but I swear I saw some people like skiing or something like that. And I thought that was like really interesting. I'm terrible at skiing, by the way, but I thought that was an interesting thing that you guys are doing with the company. So having grown like fast, building a culture that's obviously been recognized like one of the best places to work with at the same time, most people, and that's something I really want to like dive into like a little bit here, because I feel like you'll have like an interesting perspective. Most people just told that like, hey, you're either focusing on building an amazing company culture where like everyone just loves to work at that company. It's great. Or you focus on like growth, even if that sabotages like a little bit of like the company culture. And I'd kind of be curious to hear like your approach, like how you go about having the two work in cohesion and still perform like very well.
Yeah, absolutely. I having a good culture is the strategy. In my mind, that is the strategy, because when you have a good culture, you retain your team. And when you retain your team, you retain your clients. And retention of both means there's compound interest on every decision that you make. And I think for me, that is the most important. When I have a team that's healthy, when I have a team that's happy, when I have a team that's excited to come to work, they're going to give their best to the client. When the client receives the best, when they look at us and they go, "You're happy to be on this call?" We've been with agencies for years and they're never happy, and it's always a miserable call, and we always try to get through it, but you're our favorite call of the day. Like, those are the things that we love to see. And that doesn't happen because we're faking it. It happens because we have the energy and the capacity, because our cups are full, to show up and enjoy that other person. And I think that the thing when everyone is so business focused, when everyone is so business focused, you lose sight in the fact that you're still doing business with humans. We are in the service industry. Whether it is a restaurant or a hotel and hospitality or marketing, the products vary, but we are still in hospitality. We are still in service. And people forget all the time that you're serving a human. The work is necessary. But when our culture is strong and you get comfortable with the fact that people are people, it becomes a whole lot easier to do business with people. And so it just has this compounding weight, this compounding effect. And yes, you mentioned the ski. So I've made mistakes, but they're good. They're great mistakes. They're great. They're plenty of stories from them. In the past, what we've done is every single year that we hit our goals, we would take the entire team and their significant others out of the country. So we have been to Iceland and Belize and skiing in Big Sky. I underestimated the danger of putting novices on a mountain, and I will not do that again. That was a mistake. But we've gone to New York and all of these places, and so we've gotten to really bond and have these incredible experiences that we then get to bring back to say, oh, we know the world better. We know cultures better. We know people better. And then also, you learn a lot when you travel with someone. And so we're very close.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I mean, I've seen that myself. Whenever going with my girlfriend, we're traveling a little bit. Maybe we're going in Europe or anything like that. But no, that's always interesting. And I love that. So like the culture is like the strategy of like a company in terms of like growth. If you build an amazing culture, your people will want to obviously serve clients better. They'll be in a better mood, better culture, emotion, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
It's a compound effect, as you said. It's like a wheel in motion. If you make one thing right, the others are just going to take care of themselves, to put it simply.
What's so funny, because in marketing, everyone's looking for the flywheel. And it's like, when I do this one thing, I get this many dollars. And I'm like, the flywheel actually starts with your team. It starts with that is the flywheel effect. And no one talks about that. But I'm like, no, actually, I think that the flywheel starts with your team. And when your team does good work, the output is compounding indefinitely. It starts a lot sooner than people think. You have direct input.
Yeah, but I kind of like the fact that you're tying the culture to like goals as well. Like you talked about, like, hey, if we reach like a certain goal, like we're going to go like out on like a trip, and that obviously makes everyone want to like reach the goal as well. And I feel that's like an important component. Like, we obviously talked about great culture, being able to have good results as well. But if you're able to align the culture, make sure you have good KPIs, numbers that you want to hit, goals and everything, everyone is working towards like one common goal to make sure that you can get it done. So I guess that's like one thing in terms of like building a good company culture. But I'd be curious if there's like any other like thoughts on like how you go about building a good company culture, because I'm always interested in that, always looking to improve on our culture. So
it's fun. You'll see me get very excited. So the other aspect is transparency. Like, we're really transparent. We even do profit sharing here. Once we reach a certain threshold of what our revenue and our profit needs to be, because we're bootstrapped. There's no debt, there's no VC money. It is brutal, but it is completely worth
Hmm.
it for us to be able to build the company the way that we want to. And in that, I
Yeah.
want everyone here to feel like they have ownership. And so we do
Hmm.
profit share, which means I have to be very transparent with our dollars. Everyone knows when $5 at coffee has been spent. But the motivate and a lot of people wouldn't dare do this because they're like, well, they shouldn't see that information. I'm like, first of all, they don't really look for it. They do trust the process, but we show it if anyone really wants to see it. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we split every dollar 50-50 with the team after we reach the threshold of what it takes to be healthy the following year. And that is a huge motivation to be like, no, they actually have
Yeah.
buy-in. You're investing in Marketwake and we're investing in you. And it's a
Yeah.
very interesting model. Not a lot of companies do it, but it's worth it for us because we believe
Yeah.
culture and growth are one and the same. And so that's why we do it.
Yeah. No, I love that. I'm big on transparency as well, but I feel like the model that you've structured it also helps to, again, build a better culture, but reach better goals because people want the company to succeed because you're investing in them at the same time. It's like really
Exactly.
huge. And not a lot of companies do that. So yeah, well, we'll have to look in the profit share. That's an interesting one.
I have tips. I learned a lot.
Tips? Okay. I imagine, you know, that's like you said, you make mistakes, you learn from them. It's learning experiences, they're just lessons in the end here. So I love that. And just shifting gears a little bit, we talked about obviously the company culture, the marketing side of things, but I know we talked about earlier, like when you have different companies that are like spending, maybe they're cutting funding or anything like that on like their ads and everything. So there's always like that competition between like different like companies on what I'd be curious to hear from you, because I imagine you've probably seen that working with, you know, quite a lot of companies. When a company just decides to like basically copy paste whatever the competitor
Oh,
is
fun.
doing, I'd love to hear from your perspective what usually goes wrong there. I mean, a good example, everyone nowadays like using AIs and people might just copy paste like a website from a competitor, like, oh, I'll just slap my logo on there, call it a day. That's our new website. So, and in branding and everything, that's even like more important. You want to dilute your brand by any means here.
I wouldn't call that a strategy. It's not very unique. But
No.
yes, we see it happen. I mean, if you're copying what your competitor's doing, you're already late because by the time you've
Yeah.
seen it, there's creative fatigue. People get the
Mm-hmm.
creative fatigue experience right now is rapid. So by the time you've seen your competitor do something, they're probably already working on the next. And by the time you're able to
Yeah.
produce and recreate it, you're so irrelevant that what you've
Mm.
done does not matter because they're dropping the next best thing. So like people underestimate the time it takes to create something. And anytime you
Mm-hmm.
copy, you're so far behind. The speed at which creation is happening right now is
Yeah.
astronomically fast. So yeah, you're missing out on an opportunity. And also people right now, it's the age of the creator. They want to
Mm-hmm.
follow a unique voice. They want to know what's authentic. They don't want to see more AI. They want to connect with
Yeah.
humans. And I think that we're in a really interesting time. It's very polarizing. I mean, we're seeing
Yeah.
AI propel us faster than we ever thought possible. And that's
Mm.
an entirely other different podcast, if you will. And then at the same time, we're seeing people really ground themselves. Like they want to
Mm-hmm.
connect with real people. They want mistakes. They want their Instagram posts to be messy. They want to know that
Yeah.
there's dishes in the sink because they're really human. And so I think that polarization is what brands can really leverage. Yeah, use AI to process information faster. Now, with all of the extra time that you have, spend it in creating something that's unique. People want to identify with brands that they feel
Mm-hmm.
connected to, that represent a piece of their life, that they can laugh with and at. And if you're not reflecting your niche, your audience at all, they have no reason to stay. There are other
Mm-hmm.
options out there. So I think
Yeah.
with the time you're saving, it is not just speed, it is actually to take back your soul as a brand. And so how are companies taking their soul back? Like use the time, but use it to do something that's worth watching.
Yeah, intentionally. And I mean,
Yeah.
one thing I'm sure that you've seen is if you look at X, Twitter, LinkedIn, or anything like that, like you have so many people nowadays. I mean, you can easily tell when the post is just written by ChatGPT, Claude, or anything
If
like
I see
that.
one more LinkedIn post, it's an
I,
immediate
s-
skip.
yeah, I swear, but maybe I saw that somewhere and it wasn't true. And maybe someone was just like playing like a joke or anything, but I swear I saw something that LinkedIn was like adding like a skip, like this is AI slop or something like that. On like LinkedIn, you could just click at 3 dots and then just click
I will
that.
be their number
I,
one user.
I thought that was hilarious.
Report,
I was like,
report.
that's a good one. But no, I mean, obviously having your brand, not like copying people, because obviously that's going to like dilute the brand, just copying people, and you're obviously going to be left behind. One example I like to think about is some people, what they'll do is they'll see like someone that has like posting really great content and like, oh, I'm literally just going to like, grab AI, copy all their content, get and understand like what their voice is, and I'm just going to use that as my own. And I feel like it's a bit similar for some brands. Like they'll just like, yeah, like let's look at Facebook ads library. Let's see what kind of creatives they're running. Let's just do the same thing, change a couple colors here and there, and then let's run that. They've been running those ads for like a year, probably works well. Let's give it a try ourselves. And then you just end up seeing like the opposite effect. And because you're using your creative judgment, you're not using it actually, you're just using someone else's creative judgment. The ad just doesn't perform well. You scramble to find another winning creative and then you don't know what to do. So it's kind of better to just, learn how to do it yourself versus just copying people.
It is. And if you don't want to do it yourself, that's what agencies are for. You can hire people who love the creative part. And the thing that I don't understand about that is like, you really want to copy someone? Like, that's really what you want your brand to be about, is just to copy the most expedient answer. What are you, I would say to get like really, psychological, take a psychological impact. I'm like, why are you here? Why are you working? Like, why do you have this job? Like, if you don't have any level of connection with your brand or your product to actually want to do something that is meaningful, impactful, or awake leaving, like why are you, maybe you should get another job.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think there needs to be, some level, maybe passion is not like the right word, but some sort of like creativeness where you're not just like copying people. Belief. Yeah.
Belief.
Like
there should be some level of belief to be like, we can do this better and different. If you don't have that, I don't know. Good. Maybe there's something else out there for you. Fair
enough. And we talked a little bit about AI, and that's where, like, you mentioned it could be like an entire different conversation. I still want to touch on it like a little bit here, because everyone uses it nowadays. I know I was speaking to someone on your team and he was saying like, yeah, I'm using it like every single day. Like I built like some really cool stuff, whether it was like just on like his own for like some like side hustle or so. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I thought that was like interesting. And you mentioned yourself, like, yeah, we want to use AI, but we want to make sure that we're using it correctly and that we're not using it to just obviously dilute your entire brand, copy people or anything like that. And I guess with you guys being a very like culture driven, like human centric, like people centric, like company, just by like everything that you were telling me earlier, I'd be curious like how you think about using AI like within your company, and perhaps how you see that being like interlinked maybe with the culture, like the approach that you guys take to just obviously delivering great work.
We have this concept here called the debate room. And the rules for hosting a debate room, it's actually really exciting. I would love for you to be a fly on the wall in one of these, is if there's anything here that impacts the way that we work, the way that we sell, or the way that we deliver to a client, we need to debate room it first and really understand what the impact is before we just like adopt and roll. This has been a lot of our debate room is this concept of what does this look like in creative and design. It's different in each department, right? Creative and copy and data analyzation and the actual output. Is it branded? Is it not branded? How fast? What are our rules for delivery? There's so much to talk about there. And so what we decided is, we have to have an AI ethos. Like, what is it that we actually believe here as the best use case for AI? And it comes back to, if you own the inputs, you can influence the outputs. If you are not spending astronomical time really defining the brief, the strategy, the voice, the direction, your output is going to be weak. It's going to be empty. It's going to have absolutely no meaning. It is going to be AI slop that you report on LinkedIn, and we can't put our name behind that. We're a creative agency. We can't deliver that to a client with pride. So we also have a rule, and it might be controversial. It's fine. We give people access to Claude, of course. We have rules, we have skills, and then we revoke access if you've lost rights to it. So, yes, you can lose access. So if we're not seeing you use it correctly, or if you've outsourced thinking, to the AI machine, you've lost access. You then have to reprove that you can think and you're not being lazy. Because my biggest fear is that we're going to get to the point where people have lost the ability to think and then they believe what the AI says is true. Right now, because it's new, there's enough of us who have experience and wisdom and critical thinking to be able to look at something and say, that reads wrong, that is not accurate, that's not the strategy, that's not actually the output that I was looking for. But the more that we use it, the less likely we are to have that critical thinking. So our X factor at Marketwake is to teach critical thought, and that comes through wisdom and experience and learning. And so, yeah, you can lose it. You can get it back, but you can lose
of course.
it. Yeah.
That's really interesting though, because I find myself, obviously I use AI pretty often in college, and that's like one of the things I'm like, I need to make sure that I still use like my own judgment and I don't trust like the AI to like do everything, because at one point, like you're just thinking like, hey, like in a couple of years, we're going to be totally dependent on these things if we don't like still use like our judgment. And that becomes like a bit scary, because if you don't control the output's not going to be too pretty, as like you were saying. You want to make sure that you can get a good input in. And that's you that's controlling that input.
Exactly. Your ability to think is the only thing that protects us. We're in the age of AI. It is our human ability to think. So, okay, I was in the road the other day and I was watching, change but relevant. I was watching a Waymo. You know, a Waymo, the self-driving cars.
Yeah.
There was a 4-way intersection here in Atlanta, and it's a wide intersection. And so a Waymo was taking a left-hand turn, and it had a left-hand turn arrow, but because it was a wide intersection, when it turned left, it captured the red light for the opposite side, and it just stopped in the middle of the road, and the poor girls in the back were like banging on the windows. They were getting honked at. They didn't know what to do. And to me, that's a perfect example of human judgment. A human does not look at the rule and say, oh no, there's a red light, I guess we have to stop. A human in the car would have continued. And so I think that that's where we are with AI, is like there's just a level of human critical thought that is still necessary to drive the freaking car.
It's not black. It's not just black or white.
No.
Oh, it's red. We stop. It's like,
I guess
there needs to be that judgment.
Yeah, but do you remember? It was green.
You stop the car. It was green. It's red now. We stop it.
We stop the car.
Yeah. But I'm so with you. Like, I think AI, like the way I like to think about it, it's more like an amplifier to like anything that we do. But again, we need to be that like core, like brain to be amplifying like the first place. If you don't have that, you don't have that judgment and everything like that, then what's to be amplified? You're just dealing with something that might not be factual. And I find myself oftentimes just asking like, yeah, is this factual? And oftentimes going to return like, oh no, I made a mistake. It's like, you really need to like use your judgment. And in a lot of cases, review everything.
Well, if you look, the search for the term, is this real or is this true in Google has skyrocketed. So what people are doing over the past 9 months, what people are doing is they're getting output from AI and then they're still going to Google to say, is this real? Which is hilarious. So I think that when we're talking to clients, SEO and AEO are still very important. It's because, people are fact checking in Google. And then going back to your earlier concept about just copying people. So AI is not giving you original ideas. You think it is because it's original to you, but all it's doing is compiling what already exists. And if you think that you're original and you're only getting your ideas from AI, you are exactly the kind of person that we were talking about before that's just copying the competitors. So like that is the other aspect. Like get it to give you an idea, brainstorm some things, absolutely. But getting people in a room to iterate off of those initial brainstorm ideas is really important. Otherwise, you're actually just copying your competitors, but you thought it was original because it was the first time you heard it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's kind of funny. Like I know we talked about like copying people. I didn't think directly about like AI, but it's like, I mean, if you're just reusing stuff that's like already public out there, and then you're like, oh, new idea. This is great. I came up with this.
No,
and it's like
just new to you.
Fair enough. And just before we like wrap things up, one of the things I always like to ask like anyone that comes on the show, obviously you've been around the block, to put it very simply here, for like any like brands, companies out there, is there like any piece of advice that you would give in terms of maybe building a great company, building a great culture? I mean, I know that encompasses like quite a lot here, but I'd love to hear if you have any specific thoughts. Like, hey, maybe you need to be not doing ski trips because that's not going to end too well. Maybe just go for some skydiving instead. But
Oh yeah, base jumping. Much safer.
There you go. That's the one.
Base jumping. I immediately get sued. She told me to do it. Yeah, I think the three things that I fall back on often when I think about what are the components of building something successful, it's caring about the details. I am not a detail oriented person, so I have surrounded myself with a lot of incredible people who support me. So get the support and pay attention to the details, because the small things actually have huge impact. I mean, Disney built an empire on the details for a reason. It works.
Yeah.
So you do need to pay attention to the details. And if it's not your strength, then you need to surround your people who can help you there. Also, create an environment that is safe. People don't do good work when it's not safe. And safe, I don't mean physically safe. I truly mean like mentally safer. Give people the ability to think, to play, to be themselves, to explore, to try new things. And you can do that a lot of different ways. You can do that in spaces, and having like Creativity Inc. has a concept of a brain trust, and it was a structured place for them to experience that, where ours is very fluid. I mean, you might see me with my shoes off, running around barefoot with a glass of wine in my hand, so they know, okay, we're safe here. For like, I'm not going to mess up too much, because look, and then the third is you have to really get close to your clients. You really need to know what is it like to be on the other side of me. I mean, it's a good question to ask in any relationship. Like, what does it feel like to be on the other side of me? Is it messy? Is it thoughtful? Is it what you're looking for? And then reassessing those relationships. If you start to get too far from the client and the experience that they have, you start to lose yourself and what they need. And then you lose your voice, and it's just a ripple effect in the worst way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. Well, I learned quite a few things from this conversation. And I think just like even the culture side, things like leading a company, there's definitely a couple of things that I'll need to brainstorm and think about, just based on everything that we covered. I'm not sure about the skiing, as I mentioned, not too good of a skier. You know, we'll consider maybe base jumping, as you mentioned. You know, that sounds like a safer option. So
that's an option.
Maybe we'll go with that.
Okay.
So really appreciate you coming on the show, Brooke. And for like anyone that wants to get in touch with you, reach out to Marketwake, what's kind of the best places to look out for you here?
Hit our website, marketwake.com, and then you can always find me on LinkedIn. It's Brooke MacLean.
Perfect. Well, we're going to put that all in the show notes if anyone wants to check that out. And to your listeners, if you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe, like, comment, review, reach out to Brooke here in Marketwake if you need any help with your marketing, or if you want to build, an amazing culture and you want to learn from her, maybe work at Marketwake. Seems like they're doing some pretty cool stuff. And yeah, until then, keep pushing, and we'll see you in the next one.